Hi Main 40 community, welcome back to another episode. Thanks for tuning in. This is one of my favorite skincare topics because I believe it to be the most important for our face in the morning. Today I will take you through the importance of sun care and introduce to you some of my favorite products. I've obtained some of these during my Style Korean skincare haul, and after months of using it, I can confidently speak about them. Korean skincare really focuses on maintaining a healthy palette, so great skin, without having to hide much using heavy concealers or foundation. And so the fundamentals of skincare lies with sun care. A lot of research and thoughtfulness has gone into Korean development of sun care over the years. And especially now with the awareness of healthy ingredients, the Korean brands have really come a long way. Glass skinned is a trend, not just in Korea, but within North America now. And a lot of my Canadian friends have been asking me, what is glass skin and what can I do to get my skin glowing the way Korean women's skin glows? And my response to that is vitamin C and sunscreen. Vitamin C, I've talked about a lot in my other videos. Sunscreen is something that I really wanted to research a lot about and deliver some really good information to you, because when you're busy, you don't have time to read through all the labels and do the research as to what's in each of these bottles. So I've done that for you. At the end of this video, I will give you a bonus tip on how I reapply sunscreen throughout the day without dirtying my fingers. Sometimes when you're out, you're a little paranoid about the germs and whatever else you may have on your fingers. So this is something that I would like to share with you. When I was young, my mom protected me from the sun by always wearing a hat and then putting a hat on me, as well as using the sun creams that we found. But back then, we didn't have that much variety or knowledge about what goes into our sun care. So I remember just picking up something from the local drugstore and my mom putting it all over my body, the same product. Today, we are so blessed and fortunate with all the research that goes into skincare, especially sun care. Koreans are very meticulous. The three things that I look for when I purchase a sunscreen is, first is the broad spectrum, second is the ingredients, whether it's mineral versus chemical, and third is the comfort factor. So the first one is quite easy because you can often see it right on the product. So it'll say broad spectrum like that with the SPF factor. The second and the third are a little bit more challenging in that you have to really look through the entire ingredients list. And what I like to do is use the EWG app to look up each of the ingredients. So I've looked up about the first 15 ingredients that show up on the labels, and I'll reveal that to you during my test portion of this video. Third, the comfort factor is really crucial in keeping up with the consistency, and it really comes down to trial and error. So I'll do my best to let you know how the texture is and how it feels on my face. So before I get into showing you each of the products, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what broad spectrum is, because I think it's really important that you pick sunscreen. Some of them are not broad spectrum. Broad spectrum ensures that you are protecting yourself both against the UVA and the UVB rays. There's two different types of rays that come from the sun. The UVA is the one responsible for aging, so it goes within the skin to produce wrinkles or dark spots. UVB rays are responsible for burning of the skin. So when your skin tans, you can see the change in the pigmentation, and that's caused from the UVB rays. There's also a second indicator for a lot of the Korean sunscreens, and that's the PA factor. So a lot of the times when you look at a label, you can see the PA followed by plus signs. And I've gotten a lot of questions about what that is. So PA is based on testing that is done for PPD, and PPD stands for persistent pigmentation darkening. So yes, it measures the level of sun exposure that a person can withstand before it induces skin aging, so the UVA rays. Korean brands are a little bit ridiculous. Like you may have seen, this one has 4 plus signs. Some of them range from 1 to the most I've seen is 4. And that means a person can be exposed to UVA rays longer and withstand it before tanning. So I'd like to look for this factor as well because I want to avoid changes in my skin tone. When it comes to ingredients, we'll differentiate between chemicals. So here are some examples of chemical sunscreens, and physical or mineral, which are the same thing. So here are some examples here. I will be reviewing both of these because I use them, but the main differential between a chemical versus a mineral is the way it sits on your skin. So chemical sunscreens, their active ingredients consist of ones like oxybenzone, homosalate, and octocrylane, and these chemicals can actually go under the skin and be included and absorbed into the body, so through the bloodstream, or in any of the other organs can take it in if you're constantly reapplying in large quantities. So for that reason, it's been sort of given a bad reputation. But I've been using chemical sunscreens, and so far I'm okay, I'm fine. I think the most important thing is to find a sunscreen that you love and just continuously use it all year round. So for those who are more conscious of ingredients and want to avoid those seeping into the body, especially if you are concerned about fertility or for children, then you may want to move over to a physical or mineral sunscreen. Physical or mineral sunscreens, they actually just sit on the skin. So it's just another protective layer, and very little is absorbed into the bloodstream or into the body because it acts as a protective shield. So when you're using a physical sunscreen, you have to really be cautious of cleansing at the end of the night. The active ingredients in a mineral sunscreen are zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, and these are regarded as a little bit more clean. The products that I use, I found some really great ones that don't give off that white cast. The physical sunscreens have been given a bad rep because of the way they used to sit on the skin. I won't reveal the name or brand of this particular sunscreen, but if you have a look, you can see that it just, no matter how much you rub onto your skin, it just sits on the surface. It feels greasy and thick, and I really did not enjoy, I actually dreaded putting this sunscreen onto my face. So even when I tried to apply makeup on top to sort of camouflage it, it would change the color of the foundation. And this was one that I couldn't really get into. But fortunate for us, there's been a lot of development and it's evolved over the years. And I'll introduce you two of my favorite mineral sunscreens that go on beautifully just on its own, but also are compatible as a primer for makeup. One final thing about ingredients that I'll say is the SPF level. So what's the difference between an SPF 15 versus a 50? Honestly, beyond 30, there's not that much of a difference. So for example, an SPF 15 can block as much as 93% of the sun's rays, whereas a 50 will block 98%. So you're not really getting that much difference. The thing is with these SPFs, because you're encouraged to reapply every 2 hours, anything above 30 won't make much of a difference in terms of your sun protection. So let's get into some of these demos of the ones that I've been really enjoying and using frequently. I will include the prices of how much I purchased them at the time of this video. If you click the title of my video, you'll see in the description with links on where to buy along with the Canadian dollar prices. The first product is the Boo Bamboo Sun Care. I found this one at Whole Foods and it was $15 at the time. It's a bit thicker in texture, but it does help moisturize. It has a SPF of 40 and it's a broad spectrum, meaning it protects against the UVA as well as the UVB rays. The active ingredient is zinc oxide, which is given a yellow rating by EWG, but it is the active ingredient that's found in the majority of mineral sunscreens. After taking a look at the top 15 ingredients for this sun care product, I found that the rest of the ingredients are given a green rating, meaning that it's not hazardous or toxic. As you can see, it's very comfortable. It is thicker, but it's not too bad. It leaves a slight white cast on my forehead, but it's still good under makeup, and I used this during the past 2 winters when I needed something a bit thicker. This is a Korean brand called Dr. G, and I've been using this sunscreen for about a year now in the summer and the winter. The texture is thin like a serum, and it protects from both the UVA and the UVB rays, as well as external stressors like fine dust and smoke. You'll find that it absorbs really nicely into the skin, and it is so comfortable, making it suitable for even sensitive skin because it contains Centella asiatica and fish mint to soothe and moisturize. There's no white cast, and it evens out my skin. This is a great one as a base for foundation. Looking at the ingredients, they use zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, which are great, but there is one that is concerned because it may disrupt hormones, but there's limited evidence. The next is a Japanese sunscreen, which I see all over social media, and it is a broad spectrum UVA and UVB chemical sunscreen. The texture is very thin, it's almost like a gel, and out of the active ingredients, I've checked this top 17, and all are green except for 2 ingredients. One is octinoxate, which is an endocrine disruptor, and there's evidence that can actually change sex hormones. The other is alcohol, which I can smell in the product, but people may not mind it because it can act as an antimicrobial, and it also makes it really fresh and there's no white cast. One of my favorite brands, Neogen, has a broad spectrum sunscreen, which is chemical, but wow, it has 20 different types of plant extracts to soothe and control the oils in the skin. The texture is very watery and it's thin, just like the name Airy suggests, so it's really good for layering. When I looked up the active ingredients, I found that they are rated yellow for concerns of being an irritant on the skin, especially sensitive skin, and potentially toxic to the body and to the environment. Most of the other ingredients were green, so they weren't considered to be hazardous though. As you can see, it goes really well into the skin, it doesn't leave a white cast, and the finish is pretty clean. So it's not sticky either. It will do really well under makeup and multiple layers. And having used this for about a month and a half, I was pretty satisfied. But if you're concerned about reproductive and toxicity issues, then let's keep looking further. Another Korean brand that was really unique because it contains 8 different types of hyaluronic acid to hydrate dry skin and prevent wrinkles from occurring. This is a broad spectrum chemical sunscreen, and it's so thin and light that I found it to be a watery like texture that absorbed really quickly into the skin. Usually I would do 2 layers of sunscreen, but for the purposes of this video I'm only showing 1. But because of the unique wateriness of this, I found it to be really comfortable, and I had to apply more and really be extra generous with the product. So I would apply it onto my face, focusing on the cheeks, and then onto my neck, and also the ears as well. By applying a second layer, it just gives me peace of mind that my skin is protected and I'm getting good coverage. But also with the Korean formulations, they're just so easy to apply without the white cast or stickiness. If you aren't too concerned about EWG's ratings and just looking for something comfortable, then this may be the one for you because it acts as both a skincare and a sun protectant. This is a Beautycounter formulation specifically made for the face. It is a broad spectrum, so it provides protection from UVA, UVB, HEV blue light rays. It's also great in terms of texture because it's not too thick, but it's not too thin either. It's easy to blend into the face as part of your last step of the skincare. It's also free from EWG's chemicals of concern that are linked to endocrine and reproductive issues, and it also meets the strictest standards for testing against animals. It absorbs pretty well and it's easy to blend, which is designed for all skin tones without leaving a white cast. I've used it under makeup and I've found it to be really comfortable. It doesn't peel the foundation or it doesn't move around, and it's great for layering as well. I find this one is best for kids and women who are concerned about their reproductive system. It's also not sticky, so it makes it very comfortable and easy to use for the whole family. The last one was a bit of an unexpected surprise, but it's a Korean brand Misha, which has been around for a really long time. The texture is so light, it's like a skincare serum, and it contains 4 different flower extracts. So I felt it to be soothing, nourishing, and hydrating for my tired and dry skin. It's very good for layering because it absorbs really quickly into the skin. The active ingredients that make it a broad spectrum, it is a chemical sunscreen, and it contains octinoxate, which is linked to being a potential endocrine disruptor and affecting sex hormones. So if this is a concern, then I actually wanted to buy the pink bottle, and I recommend that to you because its active ingredient is zinc oxide. I'll provide the link in the description below, but just looking at the ingredients of this green one, I realized that I had purchased the wrong one. So my mistake. I also noticed as I was applying it that it has a really pleasant, soft scent, but because it has added fragrances, I'm not a fan of this. But because I like the texture so much, I was so satisfied, and it makes the top of my list, and I would definitely purchase the pink one and use that one on a daily basis. After testing all of those, I found them all to be pretty great formulations. These ones were by far my favorites. This one has EWG approved ingredients, and this one you don't even need to read the label because it is EWG verified. When it comes to the texture, they were both really, really great, and that it feels like you're just wearing a very thin serum. And in terms of absorption and not leaving a white cast, neither of these did that. So I really recommend that you give these a try this summer. And now for my bonus tip. I mentioned that sunscreen should be reapplied as often as every 2 hours during the peak of the sun's rays between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. And these days with the sun staying out longer, I'm finding that I'm constantly reapplying in the evenings as well. So every Korean woman has a cushion in their purse. Cushion is my favorite way of reapplying sunscreen because of the convenience factor. So my tip is that I take a cushion that's nearly almost done. So there's hardly any of the product left, but I keep it and then I refill it by squeezing my favorite sunscreen onto the sponge. And this really helps because you could use the puffer to just reapply onto your face as often as you can, and you don't need to even get the product on your fingers. It also feels really comfortable and cooling because the puffer is supposed to help distribute the product evenly on your face. The one dab with the puffer should be enough to cover your entire face, and then if you want to add your ears and neck, you do another dab. Really easy. It doesn't look shameful at all because you can use the mirror to reapply. In a future video, I will return with my favorite body sunscreens. I think it's really important to also make sure that our body is protected, especially in Ontario as the days are turning longer. We are getting outside a lot more, and patios have now opened up outside. So it's important to have constant sunscreens on handy. So until next time, continue to embrace aging. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again with better skin. Take care.